All right, everyone, let's get right into the build. For your rapier build, this is going to be covering an evade build. Here is the tree that you would want to set up. You want to go with flurry. You want to go with invade. And I prefer using riposte as well. You kind of want to just copy the tree you see here. Things in here that will give you more damage with bleed, things of that nature. That's kind of how you want to set up your tree. Moving on, let's talk attributes. I would recommend 25 strength, 350 dex, int as much as you can put, 25 focus, and 50 con. I'm a 50 con gamer, and that's what I would recommend. Each one of these all have different nodes that will help your damage and increase your damage. So feel free to look over each and every one of these. Things like more backstab damage, things like also more elemental damage. I recommend running a split on your rapier with a gem. If not, go diamond. Diamond, you can't ever go wrong, especially if you're fighting in clumps. You should be in sacred, so diamond's a good way. And then you should also have things like bleeds or attunements and everything. And putting this into intellect allows you to take advantage of these increased elemental benefits. Things will make your bleed stronger, also make your things like your attunements and other things like that nature better on the weapon's damage. 25 focus for ability reduction for cooldown. And then we go to 50 con for that 5% extra armor. Speaking of armor, let's take a look at it. I recommend that all rapier players always run at least a minimum of 4 refreshing. Minimum meaning the maximum. Let's make sure we refresh out here. We need to get those cooldowns down as much as possible. We want to be spamming our abilities on this build, i.e. flurry and evade. So you basically your damage rotations on this build would be flurry and then evade until flurry is present again. You will get 10 seconds of bleed at the end of your flurry. So things on your weapon like keenly jagged, it's not really needed. That's why when we look at the weapons I use, I do have the finisher that you can use for evade. And the main reason would be because of the finisher harmony here. Attacks against bleeding targets deal 15% more damage and reduce the flourish of finish cooldown. And it also works on both weapons, so it pairs nicely with my hoplite musket here. So that is another thing that you would want to look at. You pairing your weapons with the finisher with bleed to get that 15% extra damage. Now, if you don't care about buffing your secondary weapon with the finisher, you can go with the weapon that has something on it like omnidirectional evade. If you omnidirectional evade should be literally probably always never on cooldown if using this build correctly. If you're spamming it right, so that means you can constantly give yourself a 20% damage increase for 2 seconds after each invade, which is great pumping numbers for pumping down bosses. Is great in Gorgon and things of that nature. It pairs really well as long as the targets are bleeding and things that, and you're doing your invades and such. You'll see some very, very solid numbers. So and then other things you want to make sure you have. Make sure you have things on your gear such as leeching flurry. Leeching flurry is a huge one. We want to add that to our survivability, and we want to also make sure that we're getting that health back when we are using our flurry. When it goes to jewelry, I recommend a hardy ring with thrust damage and also bloodletting, making those bleeds last longer. Now you could go hardy, thrust damage, and leeching. That is also very strong as well. Bloodletting's not really necessarily needed. So if you've got one with leeching on it, you're gonna see stronger flurries, which is gonna be great for that leeching. You're gonna see a lot stronger leeching there, so that's also good as well. So don't feel and beat yourself up too much if you don't have it with the bloodletting, because it's honestly not that big a deal. Earrings, I like nimble on my earring. Refreshing toes can't ever go wrong. And then any other perks. So really just basically nimble and hardy on the jewelry. Your necklace, you would want this necklace to have health. This one is just an amulet I had on right now. So health on the necklet, and then whatever elemental resistance that you'll need for whatever activity you're running, or strike resistance or slash resistance or whatever. I will be making a video on the Gorgon build for the rapier as well, where you would use a strike or slash on here, but that'll be later on. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's the build. If you have any questions, you can catch me on twitch.tv/babyfnelson. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.